He's the main link between Al-Qaeda and JI. He was almost certainly the ultimate mastermind of the Bali attack. So to those relatives and friends of the 88 Australians who died in that outrage almost a year ago, this is, I hope, some further measure of justice. I congratulate the Americans, and I'm sure that psychologically this capture will inflict a very heavy blow on the worldwide terrorist network. He's not quite the biggest fish you can catch, but he's pretty close to it. And he's been on the run for a long time, and it's a major breakthrough which I very warmly welcome.
Are you able to detail, sir, put a bit more detail on how they got him, where he is, how the capture was
No,
effected?
I'm not going to go into the detail of it. There is some further detail of which I'm aware, obviously, but there's nothing to be gained by going into that.
When did you find out about it, and what was your initial reaction when you heard the news?
I've known about it for several days, but I've wanted naturally to leave it to the Americans to announce.
What was the delay?
Well, I don't have to go into that. It's a matter for the Americans to announce. I'm not obliged. When you're dealing with security matters, you're not obliged to blurt everything out that you know immediately you hear it. That doesn't help anybody. In fact, it only helps the terrorists.
The Indonesian government requested access to Hambali for questioning over the Bali bombings. The Bush administration refused, and he remains in US custody to this day. Fauzi Hasbi, aka Abu Jihad, was killed after he was exposed as an Indonesian intelligence agent.
The man who held all the secrets, Abu Jihad, was disemboweled in a mysterious murder in early 2003, just after he was exposed as a military agent. His son, Lam Karuna Putra, died in this plane crash last month.
Months prior to the Bali bombings, John Howard's cabinet received specific warnings of possible terrorist attacks in Bali. All specific intelligence came from this man, Omar Al-Farouq. Australian intelligence warnings were documented in a submission to the Senate by the Office of National Assessments. They revealed that 1 month before the bombings, on the 13th of September 2002, the Office of National Assessments published a report based on information which had become available from the debriefing of Al-Qaeda operative Omar Farouq. This report said that Farouq's disclosures add to the persuasive evidence that has accumulated in the recent months that Al-Qaeda has a long-standing presence in Indonesia and close relations with local extremists. On the 20th of October 2002, the Sydney Morning Herald published that Australian defence security experts were warned of specific terrorist risks against Australians in Bali more than 6 weeks before the bombing. A national classified email written by a Defence Department security advisor in August said intelligence warnings indicated Bali and Australian citizens were in danger of possible attack. Defence security advisor Keith Wilson wrote an email alerting military staff. According to International Crisis Group reports, Omar Al-Farouq trained with so-called Bali bombing mastermind Hambali in Afghanistan under the CIA. Omar Al-Farouq had also met with Indonesian intelligence agent the late Fauzi Hasbi on the 15th of December 1999. 2.5 years later, in June 2002, Omar Al-Farouq was handed over to the United States by Indonesian authorities under the CIA's Special Rendition Program. Saeed Abdullah is an Indonesian intelligence expert who operates an Indonesian intelligence firm. Saeed Abdullah said that the CIA and the Israeli Secret Service infiltrated the alleged JI in Indonesia. Al-Farouq was sent to join the Mujahideen Council of Indonesia, created and headed by Abu Bakr Bashir. The Indonesian expert said that after he failed to be a member of the Mujahideen Council of Indonesia and failed to get Bashir, he decided to work on the followers of Bashir. Consistent with these claims, the International Crisis Group report stated that the hardliners within JI and the strategists of its bombing campaigns have reportedly fallen out with Abu Bakr Bashir, whom they consider insufficiently radical. He and some of his closest followers were reportedly opposed to the Bali bombings. That bomb that killed so many Australians was an American bomb. It wasn't the bomb made by Amrozi and his friends. I don't know whether the Australian government pretends not to know this, or really doesn't know. If they don't know, they're stupid, but I think they're just pretending. Abu Bakr Bashir. Weeks prior to the bombings, the US government threatened the President of Indonesia to secretly hand over Bashir to the CIA. In a meeting with then President Megawati Sukarnoputri, a CIA agent told Megawati to hand over Bashir or there would be trouble. Former US State Department translator Fred Burks, who was present at that meeting, spoke out when the US government lied that they had not pressured Indonesia to hand over Bashir.
So we actually went to her private home and